on to our action items. First action item is the meeting minutes. So we have February 15, 2017 and May 17, 2017.
Turns out I wasn't at either one of those meetings, so I can't make the motion.
Oh.
But I'll second it if someone else will.
All right, well, do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
Can't do it. I don't have any, can't get online and see them.
Oh.
So I'll second them too,
All right.
but somebody's gotta make the motion.
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Yeah, I'll second.
And we all second at the same time.
All right. All those in favor?
I'm sorry, the chair can't make a motion.
That's true.
He gave up his gavel.
I did.
I got his gavel.
You want to switch?
Yeah, I've
I'll
got
pass it to you for
Yeah,
mine.
there you go.
All right. That's fine with me.
So who seconded it? You did?
Yeah, I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Take it back.
Okay, got it, thank you. All right, next action item. Trash removal and recycling services contract. I'm assuming that Mr. Henry.
Okay, so good morning. Action item 3B is to recommend approval of a 5-year contract for a trash removal and recycling service. In other words, a trash hauler for PSTA's main campus right here. So on average, this campus generates approximately 20 tons of general waste per year, and a lot of that is due to refuse generated from bus maintenance, materials, office waste, and other sorts. And in the past, PSTA has had numerous contracts, separate ones for each materials disposal. So to try and tie all these together, be a little bit more efficient, we put out a RFP earlier this year for all those services. The first one we put out was in January, and we received a response only from Waste Management, and upon review, we ultimately rejected it because their cost was much higher than what we believed the services should cost. And so we took a look at the scope again, made a few modifications, and issued another RFP in March, and we received 2 responses this time. Waste Management again submitted a proposal, and also a company called Recycling Services of Florida. Ultimately, Recycling Services of Florida was non-responsive because ultimately they just did not submit any paperwork for the bid. So there's really nothing to evaluate. The good news is that Waste Management did come in with a more competitive proposal, more in line with what we believe the services should cost and more in line with what our annual budget is for trash removal. So some of the services that Waste Management is going to provide for us is a 30-yard compactor, open container, and secondary waste bins across the facility, both in our office buildings and out in maintenance, as well as recycling bins for such thing as paper, plastics, aluminum, steel, and cans. So this will be a 5-year contract, $160,000 not to exceed over the life of the contract, and is funded by our general operating budget. So the recommendation is to approve a 5-year contract to Waste Management for a total not to exceed $160,000 over 5 years.
Any questions for him?
How much more is that than we're paying now?
It's roughly about the same as what we generally budget on an annual basis.
Second.
I do have one question. So on the recycling part, the aluminum and steel, is that, so all of the old parts that come off the buses, is that included in this?
That was one of the things that we actually took out from the RFP because it was much more easier for us to deal directly with the metal salvagers. So
Right.
we will be handling that directly. And yes, we throw out all metal, we recycle every metal, and we take a reimbursement for that.
Yeah, we should get quite a credit for that.
We do.
That
Yes, we do.
adds up usually to quite a bit of money. So,
We'd like it to be a lot more money, but it's
yeah.
It makes some.
All right, any other comments? All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, any opposed? All right, motion carries.
Put that on the consent.
Yeah, would that be consent?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Henry.
Thank you.
Okay, next action item is transportation disadvantaged agreements. So, Brad, I'm assuming you're going to be.
There's a couple of agreements here, and Debbie's
I'm
going to.
Okay.
yes. This is our routine annual action item that we have on these items. First, there is a resolution to accept the annual state TD grant that we use for our TD program. And we receive this as being the CTC for Pinellas County. The good news is there is a 14.8% increase in this for a total award of $3.3 million. And I believe, Chair Scott, you are heavily involved with this, and I'm sorry Patty Johnson is not at this meeting because she would be absolutely thrilled.
Yes, you would.
And
I would
second,
expect her to comment on this Wednesday, though.
okay, I'm sure she will. Secondly, is approval of 4 coordination agreements, and these are with our not-for-profit agencies that provide transportation to their clients who are transportation disadvantaged. The 4 are Neighborly Care, Park, Arc of Tampa Bay, and Lighthouse, and their total is not to exceed $693,300. That is essentially stable to what we've seen in the past year. Finally, we are completing our first year of the TD Late Shift program, and because trips are increasing, we've been awarded another grant for another year, and the state is awarding $507,000, and the total project budget will be $563,333. And PSTA is recommending that we partner again with Uber, United Taxi, and CareRide to lead this transit service enhancement. So our action item before you today is to approve A, B, and C.
Has it been a year since we've done TD Late Shift?
It started August 1st, yeah, of last year.
And I think it's 21,000 rides
Yeah.
with TD Late Shift. That was the number I'd ask about for the MPO meeting shared, which, astounded to me.
Those are all at night, too, because it
Yes.
starts at 10 p.m. Yeah.
Questions?
I did have one. The agreements that we're approving, are they attached here, or is that, or do they, what are we actually approving the contracts on?
The contracts would be for the 4 coordination agreements.
Okay. I mean, they're not on
Are they attached?
Yeah. The attachments are the state grant
yeah.
receipt. Do we have contracts with like Lighthouse and?
We're currently collecting those right now. The agencies are signing them and sending them back in so that we have them in time for the board meeting. Unfortunately,
Okay.
we haven't gotten them all back in.
Okay.
So we're approving a resolution to authorize
The CEO to
the
sign.
CEO to sign them. Okay, I was just,
Yeah, the resolution is attached, 1704.
And we can note that specifically for items B and C. It's in A, in the item A, authorizing the CEO to sign related documents for the state
Right.
grant, but then we can put that in B and C.
yeah.
So Brad, the agreement that's in here, Florida Commission on Transportation Disadvantage. So this is the grant agreement from PSTA to the TD Commission, correct?
Yeah.
So that it's not the actual agreements with the,
Providers.
We can have those attached even if they aren't signed for the board meeting.
Yeah, we'll put them in there.
any other comments, questions?
So do you want a motion to recommend to the board approval of the action items?
Yes. So moved. Okay, second. We have a motion and a second. Any other comments, questions, thoughts? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you.
No consent, or is that regular?
That should probably be regular, I think.
Could be regular, just for Patty's benefit, but,
Yeah,
All right.
it's pretty standard, but yeah, it's, give her a chance to.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money involved in that.
Yeah.
I mean, her reign as Transportation Disadvantaged Woman of the Year is still running until their conference in July.
Well, there you go. Even better. All right, next action item is the lease agreement with St. Pete Police Department.
Good morning. Theo is going to present this.
Morning, Theo.
This is exciting.
Morning, my name is Theo Bacomi Hollis. I'm a lead supervisor with Safety, Security, and Training here at PSTA. Okay, and I'm appearing here today in front of you guys for seeking approval for a no-cost action item agreement between St. Petersburg Police Department and PSTA. One is to share a portion of our space at Grand Central Station, and two is to create a police resource center within. You know, after a few discussions with the police department, it was deemed mutually beneficial if we could do such a thing, have them present with a much bigger presence. We have created a parking spot for them as well. That would cut down on time for them to come to a call, and actually hoping it would cut down on a lot of the calls that we're making. So, Grand Central Station, located downtown. Here you got First Avenue South, Central is above, US 19 just to the left. Very busy terminal. We got somewhere between 15 to 20,000 people going in and out of there every day. The buses around and around. We do have made a parking space for them. And if you look inside, this would be a picture of the front window where the customer service reps work. From the inside, this is the office space that we're looking at allowing them to work in. A wider angle, that is your customer service rep window. You have another one on this side, and that's basically right in the middle. That room was just used as a storage cabinet. We moved the stuff out of it. It's no cost to us. The terms of the agreement you have ahead of you, in front of you, it'd be a one-year agreement with the ability to extend. Language respecting accessibility, maintenance, safety, and security is in there. And also, St. Pete Police Department will be furnishing all of their equipment, their computers, their phones, their desk, everything. So, from another angle, this here is, again, the room that they would be using. And it is a very vibrant terminal, very busy, lots of traffic. It would be very, very much in our benefit to have them present and help with our needs at the terminal. You can see the buses all will go around. This is one that's circling, while the others are parked along the curb, servicing the customers. This is just another shot showing the foot traffic, pedestrian traffic, bicycles, and stuff going on at St. Pete, Grand Central Station. So, once again, it's just plain, we're seeking your approval for this no-item agreement, no-cost agreement, and so we can get this going. It would be starting on August 1st, if all went well. Any questions? Yes.
Is this does this act as a community substation for the police department where members from the community can come into that office, or is it merely for responding?
No, it would be really only for police officers, and that's why they're calling it a police resource center. For them to go in, do their work, have a presence, have their little computer, do their files and their reports. If anything we needed more than that, they would be taking perpetrators or people to main station.
Okay, so we're not expecting people from the public to
No,
arrive
not
and
no.
okay. Is there any signage indicating, other than the parking spot for the police officers?
Yeah, the agreement is that eventually, once they get in, we're going to be putting a sign somewhere along the terminal around the perimeter, just indicating that it is also a St. Petersburg Police Department resource center.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
How big is the office?
Not yesterday.
It's very small. I'm thinking about 8 by 10.
Okay.
It was used just for maintenance, we some cabinets, and we just had some schedules in there and stuff.
And is there a window
No.
from that? No, it's just, so it really was a storage room.
Correct.
Yeah.
And is there an expectation that an officer will be present there any minimum number of hours a week, or is it just?
We haven't
a spot for them to
stipulated
work?
any number of hours, whereas all our discussions are with the captain and the people in charge, saying that they really would like presence there most part of the day. Unless they're all on calls and they're all going somewhere, they would like to have somebody there.
I know in Clearwater, we have some neighborhood centers, neighborhood offices, but they're not usually there unless they stop in to get their mail or.
Well, what has happened now in anticipation of this is because the police department has this need as well to service St. Petersburg, and they have set up a makeshift in the bank parking lot, which is just adjacent. It's just over here. In this parking lot here, they have set up a temporary little
really?
substation with a trailer and a satellite, and they're there almost all day. I mean, there's a need for it on their part as well. So the anticipation is that they will be present quite often.
Great partnership. Now, security at the central station regularly, do we have a rent-a-guard there?
Yes,
And what
yes, we do.
hours
We
is
have
that?
contracted Allied Barton. We've had them there for years now, and it's working well. We have, so they're unarmed, they have no arrest powers, and so basically whenever something does come about, they'll have to call police. And that's what sparked these discussions at first was, 15, 20 minutes later, they show up, the problem is solved, the person is gone, they're watching from afar, the police leave, they come back, and we're playing this cat and mouse game. We're hoping to alleviate that.
So that would be a similar that contract security is similar to what's at Park Street?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And do the security contractors, do they have a radio, or how do they notify that there is?
Allied Barton really just uses cell phones.
Okay,
Yeah, they
so
don't
the
have to-
officer the guard has a cell phone?
Correct,
too?
yes.
Oh.
And they give us, they offer us reports of what happens and stuff, and their basic instructions is when something does happen, then they'll call police.
Because I know, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, for going on a little bit, but at Park Street, the contract security guard is there wandering around, but I didn't see a radio on them, and so
No.
that was the reason.
No, they're working with cell phones. They do all have cell phones. That's part of the agreement, and they work with their cell phones.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions? Theo, I have a question.
Yes.
From a liability and insurance standpoint, I see that Section 15, we have the indemnification and then insurance. So from my perspective, it appears that, it's pretty well defined who's going to be responsible for what, but has Mr. Zimmern had an opportunity to review this?
Yes. Our legal has viewed it, and it was several months now going back and forth, and he has approved it for the board.
Okay, good. Thank you. Well, unless there's any other questions, do I hear a motion?
Move approval.
All right, second?
I think I heard two
I think
motions.
I
so-
heard two motions, okay. Flip a coin. All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, next action item is the liability claim settlement.
Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
How are you today?
Good.
I'm Diane Randall, I'm risk manager here at PSTA, and I'm here this morning for an action item for you to recommend approval for settlement authority of $45,000 to settle a liability claim. As you're aware, the board approval is normally set at $100,000 for expense expenditures. However, our bylaws specifically state that claim settlements exceeding $25,000 require board approval. So this is a door closure. You have the complete evaluation in your packet. This is a door closure that occurred on April 13th, 2016. And as a result of the claimant being hit with the door. She injured her right shoulder and underwent surgical repair. So we have established liability and are recommending that we go ahead and settle this claim for $45,000.
Questions?
Yeah.
Joe Ray.
Just, does when something like this happens, does the driver go through additional training, number one? Number two, does the driver's track record come into play in terms of any kind of discipline?
Okay.
And I don't know the specifics about this
Right.
driver, I just,
Right.
in general.
From a risk management perspective, we do not get involved in the disciplinary actions of the drivers. We do notify safety, security, and training when an event occurs. I do know that they do have meetings with the drivers. They discuss what happened, but as far as what actual disciplinary action occurs, I'm sorry, I can't speak to that. Theo, do you have anything you can add to that?
Yeah, we'll follow up, we'll do investigations, talk to the drivers, and if there is any discipline, it would actually go to operations.
But training, sometimes retraining might be part of might be part of it, or we do look at the whole record and all that, yeah.
I just don't get involved in that
I
aspect
understand.
of it.
Probably should have gone and asked Brad the question.
Yeah, because it's important we're making a concerted effort to separate the review of an accident or an incident and the discipline. The employees often view them one and the same, and it's not necessarily the case, because an accident is something training, and you want to be very independent in assessing who's fault and all that. So yeah, we're trying to keep it separate.
Yeah, it is. If you're having a 10th accident or the 20th
Right.
accident,
Right.
there's an issue, but accidents are accidents, they happen.
Right.
Mr. Jones?
Thank you very much. And there'll be a waiver of any future costs?
Yes, this will end the claim.
And I would imagine that in some cases, the driver may not be totally at fault. The person that's involved may be partially at fault for jumping through the door when it's closing, but you just try to get these behind us and then move on. So I would move approval of this with a recommendation that it be placed on the consent agenda.
Second. Any further discussion? All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, motion carries, and that was for consent. And then, I realized on the last action item, the police agreement there, I don't believe we decided for consent or regular.
Oh.
I would suggest that be on consent. So
Yeah.
There's no,
If somebody wants to table it, they can.
yeah.
All right, consent. All right, that concludes the action items that we have for today. So now we're on to reports.
Okay, well, monthly, we're reviewing the month of April currently. And as of the end of April, we have a budgeted deficit of 1.8 million. Our actual is 1.1 million for a positive variance of $673,000. Our revenues are $254,000 favorable to the budget, and our expenses are $418,000 also favorable to budget. We continue to see fares in this month be under budget. I just reviewed May yesterday, and they will actually be over budget in May. So that is excellent news. That is being spurred a lot by our AMSCOT and CVS orders. We also have some promotions it'll be interesting to see that we're working on currently, where we have the half-price fare for the monthly pass, and our pass sales have really increased significantly. So we'll see how that plays out.
Well, that's good with fuel continuing to slide, which is amazing to me.
I know.
I can't believe it keeps going down.
Well, we keep working on the staff side, as we'll see, to mitigate that through controlling our expenses. So we're trying different things to see how it'll work out, and I think right now, from a sales standpoint, half-price monthly sales has been Excellent.
Yeah, in the month of June, so it's not in these financial data yet, we did a promotion where the monthly pass, normally retailing for $70, and we really do not have an enormous number of people that buy that.
Right.
Lots of people get a monthly pass, but they're getting it at $11 under
Right.
transportation disadvantage. We offered $70 half price for a monthly pass, $35, and through June 15th, the number of passes purchased in the month of June compared to last June or even May is like 7 times as many.
Really?
At 30, and generating enough revenue at half price to actually exceed fairly substantially the full price amount. Now, we have to be cautious about that and analyze it over a period of months, because we don't know whether people are buying a whole bunch and then they're not going to buy. We didn't offer the half price deal at CVS and Amscot, so maybe just some people that usually buy it at CVS came to get the discounted pass at the window. So we'll have to see. But so far, it's looking pretty good.
We'll have to see too, is that offset full fares too.
Yeah, and look at the other passes too. I mean, so far, it's a net bet.
Yeah.
It's looking like a net positive.
Right, the 7-day passes are up significantly too.
Yeah.
And how does ridership for May, how did that look? And how does ridership for June so far look?
Well, the next item on your report is the ridership for May, which was ridership is sort of flattening out. It was down just slightly, 2.2%. Ridership for June so far, at least, I was looking at this, isn't looking that good. It's down a little bit more than that, but I think that's largely due to the rain that we've been having very consistently this month. The number one thing that affects ridership is the weather, by far. And so we'll see whether ridership is up because more people are getting these monthly passes.
Right.
Maybe it's mitigating that, but I think it'd be nice to have some sunny days in the month of June.
How is the use of the Uber program going? How is, the first mile, last mile thing?
Right, yeah, so we have 2 different programs that, we talked about the TD late shift, the at night for low incomes is continuing to be strong, and then the Direct Connect is actually picking up. We have it on here? We're gonna report this month that the month of May or April, I'm not sure, doubled to about 700 and some. My goal had been to get to about 1,000 within the year, but the last 3 months it's doubled every single month, from 200 and something to 400 or 300 and something to 700 now.
What are you counting exactly? When you say 700, what are you counting for 700? Is that?
That's the number of subsidized Uber rides to and from a bus stop.
Okay, so if someone took it to work and home, that would be 4. If they used it for the first mile and last.
No,
mile.
I'm just counting the Uber rides. It'll be 2. They take if they rode it both ways, they would take an Uber to the bus. That's 1, and then.
And then when they got to where they were and they used it again, that would be 2.
Oh, right, yes.
So if they did it both, it'd be 4 rides.
Right.
I'm not saying that's what but 700 is including each one of those is a separate one.
Right.
So do we know how many?
I don't think I don't know, but I would bet that no one has actually done that yet. You used it 4 times in one day. It's possible, but we know that the highest zone where the most rides are is still Pinellas Park, Pinellas Park zone has been going on for an entire year. The rest of the county has been going on only since February. So it does seem like it just takes a while for folks to understand how it works and then understand how they can take advantage of it. Because Pinellas Park continues to grow at a faster pace than the other ones, but the other ones are starting to grow more. So,
Do you have a sense of how many people that represents?
no. I mean, we could probably make some estimates based on our TD late shift program. We do know the number of people that are on the TD late shift, and even though that's like 21,000 or so rides to date, most of those people are using it every day to get home from work, and so it's I don't know, about 1,000 people or something have signed up or for that many rides. But so we could probably do a similar kind of estimate.
Curious, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, well, do you have another question?
Well, I was wondering, are we through with the finance? Because I have a couple questions on.
Oh, go ahead, we've just got
Okay.
one more page.
Can I just
Yeah.
one formatting thing on the finance report? And I've seen it on several reports. On the first page, we have a negative variance percentage of 36.66% on the top third column down. And it's a positive number because we have a positive variance based on the budget of 673,000. So it just, at first blush, when looking at these things, if I was just reading through it very quickly, I'd say, wow, we were 36% worse off based on budget versus positive.
Right.
In the red.
Right.
Versus
We'll
in
try
the
to
green.
eliminate
And it's
Maybe they should be green.
the interesting thing, it's inconsistent, because then on the next page, when we have the year-to-date, we have a positive dollar variance and a positive percentage variance. So just when looking through these things, it's not
Very
consistent.
good, thank you for bringing that up.
You know, I find that the monthly number is, I don't spend much time on it. I'm really looking at the year-to-date one. And again, the major financial performance concern is the passenger fares. And it was last year, we used to say, well, okay, that was the before the recovery, and now, but if we compare this over a 3-year or 4-year period of time, we're continuing to go down. I think we used to have did we ever do a chart that said like 3 years? Because we're going down year to year for several years, right?
Unfair.
Yeah, well, yeah,
And,
for last 2 years. And that's what the other report that we've added to the ridership data, where it shows the routes. Those are all showing the growing routes over the last 3 years versus declining routes over the last 3 years. Ridership trend report, 3-year change. But we do look at that, the longer term trends.
The 3-year change number is a raw number, it's not an annualized number. But yeah, never mind. You can't lose 76% per year, so never mind.
It's total.
Yeah.
Over that period of time, yeah.
It indicates the 444 continues to go down over that period of time. I know I got a phone call recently from somebody that was concerned that we were going to kill the 444, terminate or discontinue the 444, and I had to tell her, well, the legislature just is proposing an additional homestead exemption, and it's going to make it even more difficult to continue that route. And I would think that at some point in time, particularly with the acceptance of the Uber, that we would have that come back to us to say, you know, can we legitimately afford to continue to do that? It might make sense to do it concurrently with the additional the drop in the homestay. But, we know that routes that have greater frequency are more productive. How do we invest more resources into those routes? It means that we have to reduce some of these routes that have less service on them, but at the same time, that's very difficult to do because there are people that are using those routes. The Uber first mile, last mile is one way to compensate for that. But I know in my case, it doesn't help me very much to go to Boot Ranch because I'm primarily going to be going someplace south or over to Dunedin. And so that I guess I could do that if I needed to.
Well, on the Direct Connect, we've been having some discussions lately because technically we're in our second phase of a pilot where we expanded it to countywide for a 6-month trial, and the trial will end in August. So we're talking about other ways which we might just make it easier for folks and more reasonable. We've got hopefully a new tool in the toolbox for it that we've been exploring with this app called the Transit app, which is now, just as of Sunday, showing the Direct Connect stops on the map, and they say that they're going to make it so you'll see the Direct Connect stop on the map, you click it, and then you'll be able to get your Uber ride, and integrate that. That's a start. We're looking at some other things to roll out the next phase of this, but I think you're exactly right. If we, the 444 is continuing to decline, making it much more expensive per rider, for very few rider, and if we can just make more inroads with the Direct Connect program that they can use, you know, there will always be some people that will come and say that this is not good, but maybe we can have a more viable option.
Does that Transit app allow you to connect? So for instance, for me, using the Direct Connect, the ideal direct connection would be from my house in North Countryside to Westfield Countryside Mall. But I don't want to subsidize me to go shopping at Countryside Mall and
I
then
know.
return. So, but if I went there and then took a connection within a certain period of time, then I would be willing to subsidize somebody doing it.
I mean, that's the balancing act where there's no way on any of these programs to know for sure whether, you know, we set the geofence so that it's right at the bus stop, and we try to identify stops that don't really have a big mall right next to them to try to prevent that, but there's no guarantee. So one thing we talked with the folks at Transit app and others is, well, maybe where this is going, not immediately, but where it's going in the future is that it'll be a kind of an integrated payment system. That you buy a monthly pass you for $100, you get unlimited transit riding for the month, maybe bike sharing a certain amount, and maybe 5 free Uber rides, all in one,
Right.
like a one package deal, and then you can take the Uber wherever you want. Because as a transit writer this month myself, I feel like sometimes I should just get credit. I should be able to take an Uber for free just because I'm riding transit. But I'm like, no, that's not our program. You know.
You mentioned this transit app. Is that something that's available now?
Yes.
And what is
It has a difficult sounding name because the name of the app is Transit. If you go onto the Apple Store or the Samsung or whatever and type in Transit app, you can download it. And I'm a personal advocate of it. I've become addicted to it. It's really good.
Because the Ride PSTA is...
It comes right from Ride PSTA, so the real-time information is in there, which is great and much easier to use than the Ride PSTA website. And it gives, you can type, you know, it's a trip planner too, so you type in, it doesn't have, they're working on, but right now it gives you the options. It says, okay, you can take Route 19, you could ride your bike the entire distance, you could walk the entire distance for 2 days, or you could take Uber. And then it has all that in there. What they're working on, of course, which is what we really need, is a system that it figures out, okay, you could take the bus this amount and then Uber the rest of the way on Direct Connect or bus, bike, put the multi-modes together. They haven't figured that out yet.
Well, I'm also using Google Transit.
Yep.
And the biggest challenge for me is that Google Transit has me walking to a bus stop on US 19, but that stop is on the west side of US 19. I'm on the east side of US 19. So I would have to cross US 19 at north side at, well, 7 in the morning.
You'll be fine. Perfectly safe.
If you don't make the next meeting, we'll know why.
Still waiting. Or he tried. I have a question. This
Commissioner Becker.
These decreasing routes table that you're showing, I just want to make sure I get it. This 3-year ridership change that shows, let's just say the number 19 route. Does that mean that 3 years ago that route had over 1 million riders and now has 375,000 riders?
Yes, that one in particular is a little bit misleading, however, because the route is different. The route has changed. Previously, the Route 19 was the entire distance of Pinellas County from Gulfport all the way to Tarpon Springs, and we cut the route in half during the last 3 years, so that now the 19 is only north of Largo. Largo and north is called the 19 now. Largo and south is called the 34. So most of the 800,000 rides are still there. They're just on a different route now. That's one of the problems with this the way this chart is set up. But you can see in very small little font, there's a little explanation for that one. Number 3 on the list, which was the 59, was also cut in half, and 74.
When was that changed? October 2016? Is that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it possible to include the split numbers for comparison so you can see the 34 with the 19 and have a net total of ridership in that general area?
Because this is irrelevant, really, if we can't see,
Yeah.
To me, it says, well, I know 2 routes we got to get rid of, but that's not necessarily the case. If you split it out, you're showing it.
Right.
You're showing a different picture.
It's like, big chain stores, they do percent growth in stores open more than one, we need something like that.
Yeah, it's like Route 19 is hamstrung. If you change that number from 19 to 55 or something else, it might not even make this list.
Correct. Right. Basically, all number 2, 3, and 4 would not make the list because they were changed. The other ones are more relevant. Same thing on some of the growth ones, like the number one growing route is the North Coastal route, but that also had added the days.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't make the list really. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, we added service, so
Right.
it's not an apples to apples comparison.
We can try to work on just trying to make it more apples to apples.
The other option would have like a since inception for those, so it wouldn't necessarily be 3 years, but since October 2016
Yeah.
change, so that it really is.
Oh, yeah.
It's not quite, I mean, we're not talking a full year yet, but at least saying, from when this was a route, this is what the ridership looks like there.
Yeah, maybe that's better.
yeah, then the entire report has relevance.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Any other questions or comments on operating statistics or financial statements?
Mr. Chair, since we have done a great job, you've done a great job getting through the agenda. If Debbie is amenable to it, I would be okay if she gave her budget presentation twice to the Finance Committee now, and then we could be done, and then to the Planning Committee when they show up.
Well, Debbie, are you up to that?
I serve at the will
I mean,
of Brad. It's so exciting, you probably will want to hear it twice, so.
We're probably going to hear it about 4 times before it's all said and done.
You will.
And you don't know how many times I've already heard it in my head, so when you put all that together, it's pretty scary.
All right, well, Debbie, then.
She
you're
sounds
good with
excited to
We're
do
good
it.
with
I'm excited.
All right.
And I decided to pay the electric bill, so we have air conditioning back on.
Is the air conditioner back on?
Yes,
Was it off?
yes.
Okay.
Yes, we're getting new air handling units and chillers. Air handling units are in, chillers are en route or here. Right, so we've got some temporary things on
Just
occasion.
committee will over that. We approved that. We discussed that.
Big project, well needed. All right, for the inaugural presentation of the budget, it's a very, very positive budget I'm able to present today. And within the budget, we're maintaining the routes that we have today. No change in the millage rate. And in addition, we've come up with ways to mitigate very high rising healthcare costs to our employees. In addition, we've kind of gone outside the box and we're looking at a BAE hybrid component program in our capital budget, which we'll talk about later. And all of this is despite the fact that we're anticipating a $2 million loss per year from the homestead exemption as we look forward. We basically have been working on the budget, and I can't remember when you started with us, but we actually, it's a very long, thoughtful process. We start in February, and we discuss bits and pieces of the budget each month, culminating in June with the first draft of the budget. That allows us the whole summer to take a closer look at it, update any numbers based on new information with public hearings in September. We start off by taking a look at where we are in 2017. And in 2017, our budget was anticipated to be a $599,000 surplus that we would then put aside for future use. However, in our forecast, we have a $163,000 deficit. That is because of a change in an accounting practice, and which relates to $525,000. So without that, we have a very positive bottom line for this fiscal year. As we just discussed, we've got revenues have been under budget, but the staff has done an excellent job of containing costs. So I'm very proud of everybody pulling together as a team to do that.
Hey, Debbie,
Yes.
quick question. That change in accounting, was that where we had to account for future retirement liabilities or?
No, this is related to how we account for property tax revenue.
Okay.
And so we're taking a hit in this year, non-cash hit, because we actually receive the money, it's just for how we account for it. We get a check in November, I think it is, for the previous fiscal year, and we had been recording it in the appropriate year, but that's not how the property appraiser wants us to actually record it. So next year, it'll be back to normal again.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Can you explore that a little bit more? I don't.
Sure.
If you're getting revenue in November, isn't that for,
It was for the June through September adjustment. And we had been recording it in the previous fiscal year as one would logically think from an accounting basis. But that is not how the property appraiser wants us to do it.
why does the property appraiser get to dictate our accounting?
It is on their rules and regulations. So.
I mean, is it for
And didn't
the,
the auditors also?
Yeah, the
support?
auditors are,
is it for the previous year?
it is.
Or is it, what you get in November is the beginning, the payments that you've received?
It clearly states for the previous fiscal year. But this is one of the audit adjustments we had at the end of last year. It doesn't make sense to us counters. But, I think if we want to continue to get our $40+ million, I will do whatever the property appraiser wants us to do.
I'm just trying to do the accounting,
It's counter.
revenue recognition. So this amount, we received $525,000 in November that was actually for the previous year.
It's basically, they're treating it on a cash basis versus what we're looking at on an accrual basis.
So we had accrued the revenue
Correct.
that we received in November in last year's budget, last year's report. And now what they're saying is you need to recognize that in the period that you receive it.
Correct.
So,
It's gonna be in FY 18.
so what we should have done was increased our budget revenues in November.
If this is something new,
This is something.
we're just starting it this year,
Right, so we'll take the,
coming November.
But we didn't make this change last year?
we did not make the change last year. It was actually an audit adjustment, so we're actually making the change this year.
This is the forecast through the end of this fiscal year.
Correct.
So in the end of this fiscal year, we, using our old practice, would have made an accrual in September for this amount. And so this year, we're not going to be able to make that accrual, so
correct.
we're
Have to reduce it
forecasting.
out.
So while we even physically have cash in hand.
Got it, okay. Thank you.
Certainly. So we take a look at the 2018 budget that,
Reformed accountant.
But,
like I said, counterintuitive.
Emmett, can you move a little closer? I can't really.
So.
Can you come
move-
closer this way so I can hear you better?
Oh, okay. I will.
The AC is louder or something.
So now we're cool, but
Yeah.
can't hear. So on the 2018 budget, we actually are showing a surplus at this point of $848,000. So that's excellent news. And some of the highlights, as we've talked about fares, passenger fares are built off our forecast for this year. We'll be keeping them flat for this year. We also have DART expenses are going up for two reasons. Contractual, it's going up a small percent, I think 2.4%, plus we're getting additional riders. Reason being, Care Ride is providing an excellent service, and we're seeing an increase in our passengers. We have no new staff this year, and through route efficiencies and how we run our routes, we are able to eliminate 6 operator positions. It may cause some overtime in there, but overall, we're going to be eliminating those positions and saving money. We are not going to be laying anyone off. It's purely through attrition, so when somebody leaves, we will not be filling that. So kudos to our scheduling and planning staff for doing
question.
that. Yeah,
So the no net increase, no net staff increases everybody.
right.
So there'll be a slight increase in certain areas that offset these 6.
Actually, I should probably, there's no new staff positions in this year.
no new staff?
No new staff, so status quo and then take off 6 additional operators.
So really, it's a staff decrease, not no new staff.
Yeah, it's not a,
That says no net staff increases, it's really a decrease, isn't it?
Right.
Okay, just trying to make sure I follow.
Right.
Thank you.
And Debbie,
What, yes?
quick question on the fares. So this year, we're under budget for fares. So you say you're using what we're projected to be.
Forecast is our basis.
Forecast is the base, okay.
Mhm.
And how, where will that be compared to where we thought we were going to be this year?
How much is it?
$5 million down.
$1 million down from where we thought this year.
How much?
About $1 million?
Probably 600 plus the 750 or something like
1.3.
that. No. How much are we off?
How much are we gonna be down in fare box this
Like
year
budget
compared to
to-
budget?
Oh, compared to budget. Yeah, I think it's about $1 million, $1.5 million or something like that.
And that's the baseline we're using for next year.
Yeah.
Try to be more realistic.
Lower amount.
Now, the one thing I haven't talked about yet on here is the second bullet point, which is our fringe benefit rate. So our fringe benefits are going up right now, an estimated $1.8 million. The largest piece of that is our health insurance. So I want to take a few moments to talk about it because it's very important. Our claims experience, our claims have gone up 75% over the last 2 years. The result is when we start looking, and right now we are out of solicitation on our health insurance, that we are anticipating a 25% increase in our health insurance costs, maybe more. So we take a look at what we have right now. As an employee, I'm paying single employee, which most of our staff members are. They select the single. I'm paying $23.10 a pay period. Under our union contract, we split any increase 50-50. That would essentially drive it up to $70.25, tripling what an employee pays every pay period. So I don't think that that's really fair to our employees. We also have to find ways to not only attract but maintain the employees that we have. When we took a look at the last 2 years of our hiring practices, we have ended up hiring people who are in the baby boomers and the Gen X. These employees want to have, and these applicants, they're coming to PSTA for one of the many reasons, health insurance. So we could be making ourselves non-competitive in the marketplace if we were to take and triple what our employees have to pay every pay period. So what we are recommending is that PSTA will take a greater portion of that, and we've absorbed that into the budget, so that the increase to the employee will be a 6.3% increase, with the single rate being at $29. That makes us very competitive with our other transit agencies, with our other government agencies, and in general. So I think that will help to attract the applicants to PSTA. Other things in our budget, we've been talking about the scorecard since January. And one of the things that we have in the scorecard, performance scorecard, is surveys. We want to see how we're doing in the community. So we've got community support surveys, customer surveys, satisfaction surveys, and employee engagements. We're doing this as a joint solicitation with HART, and hopefully that will help us to also save a little bit of money. The capital budget is $22.9 million, and it includes financial diversity. We're going to be talking about that a little bit more as we go forward with the scorecard. We love to be able to get other people's money, as I call it, OPM. So we're looking outside and finding different ways to do that. I have to say, planning and staff, through their connections and their diligence, has been able to be very successful. And in next year's budget, we've got the money from Pinellas County for the electric chargers. We've got money from the city of Clearwater, and that is for our Clearwater Beach Transfer Facility, as well as a community block grant for shelters in Pinellas County. The other thing is the hybrid component replacement plan, and this is thinking a little bit outside the box. What we'll be doing is taking and putting the hybrid components, which are very expensive, they actually qualify to be a capital item, and putting it in our capital budget, using PSTA dollars to buy those items. When you do that, it takes away literally 40 pages of federal requirements to the vendors. And we've seen when we did this with engines, we saved over $500,000, anywhere up to $750,000, depending on the number of engines that we buy over the next couple years. So we're going to do this with the hybrid components. Next year, that brings us to the vehicles. We'll be receiving our connector vehicles, which we talked about at the last meeting, our 9 replacement buses, which are the hybrids, and we will take receipt of the electric vehicles in 2018. Other highlights is our design, oh, I'm sorry.
If I may, on the 9 replacement buses, are those the buses that were ordered this year?
Yes.
Thank you.
Sure. We have the design of the downtown, Clearwater Downtown Intermodal Station. We also will be opening the Clearwater Beach Transfer Facility in time for spring break. That is at the roundabout. We've been talking about that a little bit. It'll fit 3 buses. We've got various technology improvements, and we will be releasing the robust app for the Flamingo Regional Fare Card. So a lot is going to be happening in 2018. All very good news. But when we take a look at this all put together, how does it affect the future? We just can't take a look at 1 year. And as you take a look at the chart, we are financially balanced out through 2021. So that is also very good news to have some financial stability over the coming years. And with that, the 2 challenges that we continue to face, we've just talked about, is the homestead exemption and health insurance. I've got a list up there of the various things that we're doing to do that. Everything from wellness programs to new funding partners, trying to put in as many grant applications as humanly possible, cost containment, etc. So with that, are there any questions?
Back to the healthcare costs. I'm struggling on the changes in premiums for employees, for single versus employee and family. So on the proposed changes, you had a single employee going from 2310 to 29, which in the headline we said was a 6.3% increase, but that's actually a 26% increase from the employee's perspective. At the same time, an employee and family is only having a 3.8% increase in their premiums. Is that, how do we address the difference? If I'm sitting with my friend who has a family plan going, why am I taking on a greater share of this cost than they are, of this increase?
Well, let me explain that. Number one, that was incorrect. It's not, you're right, it's more than it's much more than a 6% increase. What that says is, rather than the union contract language, which says the employee shall pay 50% of the total premium increase, which is what they have been every year. They've been paying 50% of the total increase, which would make it, in my estimation, untenable to recruit new employees at $70 a paycheck. Instead of 50-50, it's going to be 94.6. PSTA is going to pay 94% of the increase, and the employees are only going to have to pay 6% of the increase. The single and the family will only pay 6% of the increase. That's how those 2 numbers are computed.
And I understand what you're saying as far as the split, but from the employee's perspective, it doesn't quite look that way.
Yes, I've heard that from single people that don't have kids.
And so I just wanted to make sure that we're addressing that, and that the cost sharing between those 2 groups are equate to what the burden is as well.
And then we can take a look at that.
And tagging on to that comment, by taking on 94% of that increase, what is that bottom line number? How much is that effective in that budget?
That does have a majority of that $1.8 million will be what we are absorbing.
I think we need to think about that. I really do. I mean, I understand the thought process, but we've got a lot of things coming down the road too that we got to be worried about as an organization. And 1.8 million is a big hit to the budget. We really need to think about that going forward. I'm not, personally, I'm not convinced that's the right way to go with that. I need to think about it.
I mean, maybe you want to explain, we have started, and have asked for more, comparisons. The city of Clearwater, an employer, not necessarily a competitor of ours, but they offer free health care. And the employees are not paying anything. The family is paying, I just lost it, $100 and something. I mean, we try to look at how we can recruit. I mean, that's the philosophy we're looking at. Is, I'm sorry, my system is not working. I can't find it now. Where is it? Here we go.
I think we just need to be conscious what else that $1.8 million buys.
Well, hopefully we'll get that number down. Pinellas County employees pay $8.36 a paycheck. Their families pay $181. Hillsborough County pays $140, $140 a month, so substantially more. Now we're trying to we have Hart's numbers. They're in the 20s as well. The issue that we have is, again, that people that we're hiring, and we're constantly needing to hire new employees in order not to have forced overtime and a major problem with drivers not being able to drive and missing trips because we don't have enough employees. The reason that people are applying for this job is the health insurance, not the $10 an hour pay increase that they start at, or $12 an hour. They're looking for the health insurance, so we're trying to be cognizant of that. I mean, whether 29 is the right number or not, I mean, Debbie can explain some of the ways we're trying to reduce the $1.8 million burden a little bit more, trying to get a different kind of health insurance to bring the overall number down.
Right. Well, the next question is, what sort of plan are we looking at, what we have now compared to what we're looking at going to?
Right. We're looking at everything from a high deductible plan, or a high deductible plan where, see what the impact would be of PSTA giving like an HRA or HSA card to help fund the higher deductible. We're looking at going self-insured on that as well. So that's without changing any of the benefits we currently have. We could also take a look at changing benefits.
Do we have is there a catastrophic illness option for employees?
At this point, there is not. That's something else we looked at. You could have a different tier of a base, a premium, and we plan to do that, and people paying at different rates.
And the 1.8 million difference, is that really just the is it Cigna that it's currently with?
It's currently
just
with-
saying you owe us 1.8 million more.
Well, right now, we are into a procurement for health insurance, so, that's our estimate of what the increase would be. And,
The health portion of that is only about 1.35 million too. So
and then the other pieces are.
most of the rest is the Florida retirement system's going up.
Okay. Okay, so it's just the expected increase in
Right,
general
we-
cost without changing the plan parameters at all.
Right, we've had a significant number of catastrophic claims
Mhm.
over the last couple of years. And normally what you would do is pull out the catastrophic claims and go to the health insurance carriers and say, here you go, these are unusual. For us, the catastrophic has been more of the norm than it should be. So they're taking a look at that and the risk that they're willing to take on.
Well, and that makes sense. That's why, when you mentioned that earlier, that's what prompted my question about offering a catastrophic coverage as a separate line item for employees to be able to take that on if they feel it necessary.
Commissioner Eggers?
Two things real quick. First, you said it's becoming more the norm, so I'm sure we're looking at that as to what we can do internally to encourage, better health outcomes.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
know that takes some time.
Yeah.
I think seriously, we all have to be aware of that. I'm not,
No, we've actually instituted a program. We've got Wayne dates. Let me just suck it in.
I'll do the same, so.
But we've been running a program where we have a cash incentive to bring yourself down, either losing basically 9% of your weight or to get to your BMI. because weight has an impact on diabetes, health. You'll see signs everywhere, take the stairs, working out. And then we're also going to be then targeting different pieces. We've had a lot of health lunch and learns, different things on
Right.
exercise, so yes, we're trying.
Excellent. The other thing was, it seems like we're kind of negotiating against ourselves with the unions, with the union that we had. So is there a way that we can try to recoup some of this that we're now taking on? I mean,
Well, this is a
certainly,
proposal, and to take this on, so,
So
we
we're
still have
taking
yet to-
more on, right?
Right.
So is there a way to balance it out in our negotiations, or?
Yeah, I hope
Balancing is
so.
a
I hope so.
50-50.
This is a big concession.
It is.
I mean, it's an important one. I'm not saying it's not important. We want to keep employees, we want to attract employees. So it is important, but
Yes, and we're going to devise brilliant strategies for making sure the union remembers this when they come
Don't forget.
back to the table.
don't forget. So.
Yes, that's very important.
Yeah, one final question. It looks like so in one case, we accrued the expenses, and we're changing that on that one item. And on the bus discussion
Yes.
that we normally have this time of the year.
Great question.
We're talking about next year's buses, but now we're talking about the ones we're paying for next year that we've
Right.
already
And-
discussed the package for. Now we're talking, so
I-
when is our discussion about the new bus package going to come into play?
Well, right now, we have money in the budget that we know obviously is going to work to make us fiscally sustainable going out. And this includes BAE hybrids going forward. We have the trial period on the electric buses, and then past that, we have additional two electric buses in there each year. So-
Well, two things. One, on that updated number there seems to be a little different on that chart than the one you showed us earlier for operating revenues, like 11 million versus 14. But the bottom three numbers seem a little bit lower than the others. So the total comes, earlier in your presentation, you had operating revenue closer to 11 million or something, and now it's showing there 14. But
That includes other revenues besides fares.
the other one was just fare
Fares.
revenue. 11 million was fare.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is tying right back into the first slides of what we had anticipated in this year.
So, Brad, when are we going to have that ongoing discussion that we love to have every year about
Buses?
buses? Yeah, and this new look at how we're looking at buses.
Well, we're scheduling that now. We deliberately held off on having that sometimes time-consuming discussion to coincide with this budget presentation. So maybe a little bit next month, but really in August, and then in September as part of the budget approval process, you'll specifically have a vote on the capital improvement program and the type of buses
Going forward.
Going forward.
Because it really, the bus discussion, getting back to the,
Is already-
August,
we've already-
is not really for this budget,
Correct.
the 2018 budget, is that right?
Well, we usually like to place our order so that we can get it in.
Place the order, but as far as the budget numbers go, does it fall?
We're fine. Yeah, and the budget numbers, I think it's important to talk about. This is what we can do financially, regardless of the type of bus we buy with those funds. And I think, when you listen to Commissioner Long, she likes to keep the discussion open for new technologies down the road and what that might be. So right now, we're basing, though, on hybrid, BAE hybrid electric.
But that 2018 budget that we're really having to
Is
approve
BAE hybrid electric.
is the one we've already done, the package that we've already done,
I think they're
correct?
coming
The
in.
buses that Debbie showed on that slide are buses that you already voted on,
Correct.
that we are paying for in
2018.
2018, but you've already approved. And then there'll be another action item to approve the next set of buses to be
That will be
replaced
paid in 19.
in 19, and we will have that discussion in August.
Okay. But it's really not part of the 18 budget. The discussion is part of the budget but not the actual numbers.
Well, yes, I thought your question was very astute, because I've been asking, I don't understand why we do that on a cash basis,
Well, we like
basically.
accrual sometimes, but then other times.
No, you have to have the bus physically in your hand in order to be able to accrue for it, so. or to
Well,
pay for it.
from a discussion standpoint, I
Yeah.
think it's extremely relevant. And again, I'm going to get back to the conversation we had last year about the fiscal, the social, the environmental, and I really want to have that dialogue and the trade-offs that we're having, true trade-offs, not ones that sound good out there in the chambers, but ones that are true as it relates to environmental impacts, as it relates to fiscal impacts on the directions that we go in bus purchases. So I think it's we need to be extremely transparent and candid about that conversation.
Well,
But that's different than the budget that we're looking at. The budget that we're looking at we've already made that choice.
And one point to that this, I think, chart does show, that I'll probably just try to mention every time I get is the top of there's a bold line under line number 10, if you can see that, and the top of that chart shows the operating expenses and the revenues that are coming in the fiscal year. It's an important principle. It's going to be in our performance scorecard that we have a balanced budget, an operating budget. And then below the line, lines 11, 12, and 13 are the capital. And that the buses are in that area.
Right.
And we use grants and other one-time revenues. And it's my recommendation that we would not use, say, incoming fare box or property tax revenue for that. We've never done that. We've always our capital program has always been using either grants or one-time built-up reserves, and that we would maintain that principle that we'd have to have an operating budget that's balanced, and then the capital is within our resources that we have in that area. So there are.
Or if not, it's that declining balance. If we're continuing to buy a
If
certain
we don't
amount,
do that, then we're
in trouble. The capital is what's really driving that number down, is what you're saying, because
Yeah.
it seems like, well, that's not true. As you get out further, we do have some operating deficits too. So.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the $3.3 million, $3.4 million, you see the decrease of that $2 million is the homestead exemption.
Right, and that shows up in 20.
Right.
2020.
And that's great, you've already accounted that that's gonna happen, so.
Right.
If it didn't,
If
then
it's
it's a bonus.
I was glad to see that we're not, well, you actually said there was no millage adjustment, so I thought, well, maybe we were talking, the option was to lower it, but I guess not. I mean, since it said no millage increase, and the only change would have been a decrease, right?
I said, no change in the.
We said adjustment though, right?
I'm sorry, I just had to have some fun with it. Thank you. Which will have more fun later.
Mr. Joseph.
So, going out in 20, the 3.386 shortfall in operating expenses, how much of that is related to the homestead?
It'll be probably just plus a little bit more, because we increase it based on what the anticipated increase in the property tax, so a little over $2 million.
But other than that, we are excluding that, we're still saying that we'll be $1.3 million short
Right.
just from the operating revenue. Now, the operating revenue, does it increase, does it show any increase in fares?
I think it's flat.
It's flat.
It's flat.
And
So that's
the
what-
property tax projection is 3% or something?
We use, was it 4 point?
We use like 0.2 less than the county uses, so it's 4.3, 3.3, and 3.3.
Okay. And then the capital reserve decrease line, in 18, that's 2 electric buses and 3 and 5.
There's all, the
PAE.
capital reserve decrease would be primarily related to several projects. We have our Clearwater beach transfer facility, several other projects in there that are cap reserve funded.
But in 2018, we have a cash expenditure for the 2 electric buses
Right,
and
that's
the,
federally funded.
and the 5, is it 5 BAs?
Yeah. No, it's 3 plus 2. 3 BAs, 2 electrics.
And then in 19, what is the expected bus buy?
It's on the bottom of the sheet, that's 9. So we've got basically fairly stable bus purchases going out of 9, 9, 8, 8, and 8 going forward.
9, 9, 8, and 8. And though the expectation is that they would be BA, and they would be,
The BAEs, with starting in, I think it's 2020, 2 electric, so it'd be a combination for a total of 6 BAEs and 2 electrics. That'll get us past the pilot period.
So we'll have a bus discussion for another day.
We will have a bus discussion for another day, and I just want Henry to correct me. Next year, when are we receiving the order that we replaced? Is it going to be in this year, or will it fall into next? Just to make sure we can have a very robust discussion when necessary. Next year? Okay, that's right then. Yes.
When was the last time, or have we done a study on the fares and the rates that we charge and the types of people, the different segments of our customer base that use different fares, whether they be monthly passes, weekly passes, daily fares, single trip, when was the last time we really looked at who's using what and why?
Pretty much, I don't know if you'd say all the time. I mean, we raised our fares a couple years ago, which has now put us in one of the highest categories, not only in the state, but nationwide. We're on the higher end.
We did
And
a
then we
really
did look at our
detailed
average.
analysis and then in the plan to increase the fares in October of 2015. And the PSTA board adopted a fare policy for the first time then that we are following. But like we're always evaluating different options based on the ridership trends. That's why we're doing the half-price fare promotion this month to see how that, to get some data on that.
Because it would be interesting to see certainly how things have changed, if it can be calculated out why, if the change was due to the fare. I realize that there's other things going on in the world and people's lives and whatnot,
Well,
but
we do know there's a significant decrease with the TD program. As far as the TD people, there was a blue card program that caused a huge decrease in fares, which we've now come up with a new program to help stem that. So there's things like that that have happened.
well, there's also trigger points though for people to go from, I'll buy an individual pass, but if it was just the price difference on like a daily pass, right? So if the individual gets high enough, we'll go to the other one, even if I might not break even, right? There's a chance I might use the bus again, but maybe not, or maybe I'll switch to a weekly or a monthly pass. So we're able to capture incremental revenue from folks that might occasionally use it, but most likely won't. The pricing mechanism, it comes into play in all sorts of retail arenas. And it'd be interesting to see, how we can look at the fare revenue going forward.
Especially it would be awesome if we could see, do an analysis and figure out a way to get the fare revenue to go up. That would be a great day. Because it doesn't seem to have happened recently.
Now, we also have, if anybody, you've got it online, but if you want any hard copies of the budget, we do have for your reading pleasure over the summer, some hard copies.
You'll get one then next week, right?
Oh, we'll get a hard copy.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Debbie.
Do I get to do it again?
The further questions, discussion? Future meeting subject, Brad is one. We know buses is one of them.
We're gonna be talking about buses, and the other thing that we're gonna be talking about next month is the trolley agreements with Sandy Beach, Treasure Island, and the Dunedin, Tarpon Springs, you know, on the St. Petersburg. All the agreements we have on our trolley agreements, which is an annual contract.
Right.
That basically sets the amounts on the different funding formulas for those different agreements, and they're all slightly different.
All right, well, anything else for the good of the order? All right. Motion to adjourn?
Great.
Okay, thank you.
The planning committee will hopefully start in like 5 minutes.